get my business plan back? If you reach around my back now, I'll reach around yours later. That's a Wikibeania promise.
Hello and welcome to the dungeon. My name's Dan, and in today's video we've been playing a lot of Far Cry New Dawn. Ubisoft as a publisher try to generally get 2 or 3 big titles out per year, and this would have been the first, releasing in February, but I've had a lot on my plate to get through. Anyway, Far Cry New Dawn is the literal sequel to Far Cry 5. That's the one where you're in Montana and there's a creepy cult and are doing all kinds of creepy, druggy things. So, I never played Far Cry 5, but that's okay, you don't really need to. Going into this one fresh is absolutely fine. Effectively, the premise is there was some kind of big nuclear holocaust at the end of the first game, and now 20-something years later, life is trying to survive again in Montana. And there's a new big bad in the world. In fact, there are 2 sisters called Mickey and Lou, and they are a bit nasty. They have got control of this massive gang of biker-clad highwaymen, as they call them, and are terrorizing the local townsfolk with violence, as you would expect. So to counteract these thugs, the local townspeople ask for a guy called Rush to come and save them, since he's a specialist in saving settlements, and he invites his army and his friend you. You are the character, the main hero, as you would expect, and you can be either a man or a woman, which is nice, and you get to customize your appearance and clothing. Now please bear in mind that you are completely a silent protagonist, so don't be expecting any kind of dialogue or voice lines or anything like that. Anyway, just to recap the prologue, the train that's carrying you and Rush and your friends is going on to Hope County, which is where it's set, and bad stuff happens and a lot of people die. Oh well, time to begin the game. So all the Far Cry games are first person, very frenetic, lots of guns blazing, lots of looking for cover and trying to get behind your enemy to deliver a swift shiv to the throat. This one is no exception, except it's gone for a post-apocalyptic setting, which I think is strong enough to separate it from its predecessor. Now the Far Cry games have a habit of creating a main standing in the franchise, which is based in the real world somewhere, and then a second title which is a same setting but a different time zone and different theme to it. So the best example I think was in Far Cry 4, which was set somewhere in India, I imagine. I've not played it, and the next Far Cry title was set in the same place but 10,000 plus years before, so very prehistoric, lots of cavemen and big saber-toothed tigers, that kind of thing. There aren't any saber-toothed tigers in this game unfortunately, but there is plenty of wildlife. Bears, moose, what's the plural of moose? Moosei? Mooses? Anyway, eagles, crocodiles, lots of fish, wolverines, they're nasty, wolves, lots of things. Basically, the entire ecosystem is out to bite your nads off if you let it. Going back to the main plot line, it's very simple. You have to stop the bad guys. See? Simple. Now, I will say that how you go about stopping the bad guys is kind of formulaic, in that you have to go to various places, recruit specialists to help your main settlement get better and stronger, as well as looking for other companions that will join you on your bandit killing duties. It's a large open map that you've got before you, but the main problem is that it's all looking relatively the same. This is a part of the world which is very green, very wooded, lots of trees and hills and a few lakes, rivers, that kind of thing. So if you're looking for things like the tundra region or the frozen region, I'm afraid not. That's not really a big issue to me. I understand it's trying to recreate a part of the Americas, and mostly there is just one landscape throughout. Maybe if you have high mountains you can get away with some snow and ice, but in this one not so much. A lot of water, a lot of, as I said before, lakes, so definitely getting a jet ski and zipping across is on the cards. And whilst it is limited in terms of what you see, It is a pretty looking game. Lots of pink and blue flowers. They've really gone to town with that colour palette as well. Apparently the science is that should there be some kind of big nuclear holocaust, then after about 20 or so years life does come back and blooms in a big way. So yeah, lots of flowers to appreciate as you line your headshots. Other pretty things to look at include the Aurora Borealis, which is in the night sky as you look into it at night. Though, is Montana the right type of place to see that climate phenomenon? I wouldn't have thought so, but hey, what do I know? Speaking of phenomenon, where's the rain? That's one kind of thing I expected from a game as open world like this, other kind of weather patterns, but no, generally it's nice and sunny. Maybe Montana is like that throughout the year, I don't know. If there are any Montanians in the audience, then please let me know what the weather is like and if the rain is accurate or not. Also, I would have expected some more buildings around. You do get them in these little settlements, and I mean little, like 2 or 3 buildings a piece, sometimes more in the outposts you have to try and liberate, but on the whole there's not a lot of structures about. Maybe they all got wiped out during the nuclear holocaust, or maybe it's just a very remote part of the world. Either way, you're talking about wilderness, a lot of wilderness. So I hope you like hiking and driving a lot. When it comes to the character models, these are fine. Maybe a little lifeless, but on the whole, nothing too troublesome. However, just like in terms of a landscape for the previous game, Ubisoft definitely do like recycling. It always seems to be the same 2 or 3 different body types and faces I come across. For example, if I want more information about the local area, it'll either be A black guy in a yellow jacket who tells me this, or B, a white lady in sunglasses. Never seems to be a lot of different types of people there, is what I'm saying. When it comes to music, there's a lot going on here. First of all, most of the landscape tracks that you hear are kind of gentle, like light piano sounds, but as soon as something epic starts happening, it goes straight into the dubstep. But not only that, but this game has made a few licenses when it comes to famous tracks. So you're going into a settlement that you've recently liberated, and you start hearing, "Cheer up, sleepy Jean, oh what can it mean to daydream, believe it," and so on and so forth. Sorry for making you endure my singing, but that was just a taste of what to expect. So that was a bit odd, hearing all those old goldies from like 50s and 60s time, but hey, I guess that's all that survived. I guess all the cassettes and CDs went first and left the vinyl. And then to further confuse me, when it comes to the highwaymen, they all love their violent gangster rap. Go up to one of their settlements which you need to liberate, and all I hear is bitch ho, and talking about shooting and various other things like that. Who would have thought the last county on earth would be ruled over between hipsters and gangsters? And occasionally, you'll come across people gently strumming a guitar and singing about America. Basically, the soundtrack is a mixed bag. A lot of things going on, so if you like it or not really will depend on your taste of music. Now, one thing that really annoys me about the sound in this game is gunfire. I was playing this game with headphones on, and when I hear gunfire, I cannot tell at all what direction it's coming from. It's so annoying because gunfire, that means there's a party going on, and I want to get in onto the party and enjoy myself. No idea. I don't see anything, I hear it, and then it goes away. On the other hand, when you go in water and you hear someone talking to you, when you go under the water, their voice becomes all garbled and disoriented as you'd expect, so that is a nice little detail they put to it. It was kind of funny when this like spirit guy was talking to me and saying all this weird spirity stuff, and when I went in the water, like humanity, chaos. So that's the presentation. A lot of pretty landscapes, lots of wildlife for you to hunt down, lots of different tracks, so I'm sure there'll be something there to float your boat. On the whole, a pleasant looking package. And one quick thing to mention before we move on is that I can absolutely tell the developers of this game wanted to do their own version of Fallout. It's obvious, from post-apocalyptic setting to the weird radiation Geiger counter noises you hear when you first play the game, to their love of old 20th century music. Yeah, this has got Fallout all over it. And that's a kind of shame, really, because if they had gone the full hog and made themselves a real post-apocalyptic game like mutants and robots and that kind of thing, I think that would have been quite cool to play. As it happens, they are limited by setting it in the real world, and as a result, the enemy variety is very limited. Don't get me wrong, I love shotgunning bears in the head, but the highwaymen are the only human enemies you fight, and there's only so many pink biker-clad leather bandits you can gun down before it starts feeling very samey. There are vehicles in this game, and often they'll be on bikes or other kind of big trucks with guns, so that's nice. And you too get to ride said bikes and big trucks, but more human enemies would have been appreciated, particularly since I know in the last game is that Joseph Seed and his family slash friends were the big protagonists there. In this one, I think they could have done more with that aspect of the game. Now, fortunately, you don't have to liberate Montana by yourself. This game does support co-op, and though I didn't play it in my run-through, you and a friend, I guess you still have to both buy your own copy of the game, can do so. I would recommend that as well, because on the whole this was a fun title, and playing it side by side would only add to it, particularly if, say, in a car one person is driving and one person is manning the submachine gun. That would be kinda cool. If you don't have a friend like me and you want to play by yourself but you do want some kind of company in your travels, then hire a companion. These guys, ladies, dogs and boars will help you on your journey, and each come with their own specialty in terms of what they do. Highlights include the boar, who's an absolute tank, the swearing sniper granny who likes to chain up headshots, and the best little boy in the world. Come on, who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? You're a good boy. Here, have a pat on the head. What a good boy. I'll get him a bone later. But my absolute favourite in terms of character has to be Herc Drubman Jr. Just listen to some of this guy's voice lines.
I mean, you look dang familiar, like as if we'd done this before in some endless haunting loop for which neither of us may ever escape. And they tried to take my baby! They made this personal. So now, I'ma go John Wick on their asses. I'ma fucking take from them, starting with my ride. So I need you to be my wheelman. A fearless companion willing to risk life and limb while I blow the fuck up out of everyone that stands in my goddamn way, like I'm the Jizzmaster MC Captain. Will you join me on this path of vengeance? If you do, me and the monkey gods will reward you with spoils beyond your wildest dreams. Party liquor, pornographic VHS tapes, cool guns. Not even a highwayman can catch this thing. I mean, David Hasselhoff called me up once and he was like, yo, between you and me, man, Kit's a fucking bitch. Let me talk about getting your ride. I told him to fucking take a hike, man. That's probably why they stole it in the first place. All just jealous of how fast it goes and how sexy I look when I'm driving my whip. They're so petty, man. Well, joke's on them. I booby-trapped that car, and they could never look as sexy as me driving it because I got an inner confidence that just shines through.
Yeah, he's definitely seen too many movies. But you know what? It made the game entertaining. And I will say this. This game makes the monotonous stuff interesting if you bring along the right companion. Just bearing in mind that although the judge is a crack shot when it comes to the bow and arrow, he is silent. Considering you also are silent, means there will not be a lot of conversation there. The gunplay in this game is tight and does its job very well. Annoyingly, you will be thrown from time to time, so you'll be shot from the back and from all the sides, so it has little indicators as to tell you where the gunfire is coming from. So making use of all the available cover and even animals that might attack the enemy is a good step. One of the problems I found though with the human enemies, the highwaymen, is at a certain point they become very bullet spongy. I hate this in games. When you're shooting at a human being at the start of the game, I would have expected that unless something changes their physiology, it's exactly the same as shooting someone later in the game, not in this. Like many games, not just Far Cry, when they want to increase the challenge, they'll just have more bad guys who can just take 10 times the amount of punishment as before, and again and again. I think it's stupid personally, and kind of takes me out of the experience, but that's just me. Again, it's a limitation of the real world, I get that. They're just working with what is possible, so bad guys with guns is what they have as their main antagonists. Obviously some are more armoured than others, but armour isn't a thing in this game. You won't get access to it, you can't take it from the enemy, it doesn't even look that different. All you get to see are different colours of the bad guys. Standard are just, well, no colour, then you get blue, purple and gold are the toughest. Towards the end of the game, in the final 2 boss battles, when I was shooting at the enemy, literally a bazooka shot would chip off maybe a tenth of their health at most. It was ridiculous. So to counteract this, you need to upgrade your workbench or your gun bench. To do this, you need ethanol. In fact, ethanol is a very important substance in this game, as that allows you to improve all aspects of the gameplay. So you get ethanol, you increase your home base, and from there you can increase other parts to it, such as your weapon bench, and here is where you get the better weaponry, which you have to craft from finding other resources, so a lot of finding and gathering in this game. For types of weapons I wanted to expect, such as the pistols, the submachine guns, shotguns, sniper rifles, rocket launchers, as I said, you also get some more interesting things, such as the saw launcher, which I quite like. It just sends out a spinning saw. You get flamethrowers, a bow and arrow, which I wholeheartedly approve of, and a few melee options. It would have been nice if there was a few more like high-tech weaponry, but again, this goes with the theme being very post-apocalyptic, very kind of society starting afresh, so I get why everything looks so run down and patched together, and it is cool to look at. You also get various throwables as well, such as molotovs, dynamite, smoke bombs, throwing knives, that kind of thing. So you won't go too unarmed in this game. You improve your character by getting perks, and perks can be achieved by taking care of certain challenges like kill 10 bears, for example. These perks are what you use to get better, so you use them to breathe underwater for longer periods of time, hold more weaponry, have a wingsuit for jumping off high places. Standard video game stuff. There's nothing here too exciting, which is a bit of a shame. Later on, I don't want to spoil anything too much, but let's say a change occurs to you and you get access to more abilities, but again, even these aren't particularly that exciting, like say just being a little stealthier or taking people down better. So more fun things to do in terms of abilities would have been appreciated. Going back to ethanol, which is the main resource you need, there are various different ways of getting this. The most common one is liberating various outposts, and you even get more ethanol if you're able to do it stealthily, so this game gives you a lot of things to try and challenge you. And once you have liberated an outpost, if you want to, you can invite the enemy back, and they'll take it, and you have to do it all over again for more ethanol. This I find kind of funny, like why would you invite them back? It just doesn't make sense. And bearing in mind, there is no way they would take it back without you inviting it. So why do they need to wait for you to send them an invitation? It just seems gamey, I guess. You know what it is? It's just a way to expand the content, that's all. It's just another reason to keep you playing. So you've captured the foundry once, how about a second time with more armed guards? The gunplay is fun, trust me, I did like it, but I don't want to keep playing the same level again and again. Other ways to get ethanol include looking for sky drops, which is nice to the enemy because they're flying around, they're dropping some crates, and if you get to it, you can get the stuff inside, which is useful. Other ways as well include capturing these trucks as they're going by, killing the driver, and then taking the ethanol to a liberated settlement that you've already rescued, and everyone loves you because it's a big truck full of ethanol. Basically, as I said, you have to do a lot of resource gathering. So all types of garbage you have to collect to make your new weapons, your new vehicles, and just improve your health, your enemies, sorry, your allies' health, that kind of thing. It can get very repetitive is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so as this is an open world game, one problem I found several times is the amount of randomness that can occur. So you're looking at a squad of enemy, you've lined up a Molotov shot, you're about to let it go, and suddenly a wolverine comes out the tree and starts nibbling at your nose. What do? Well, your plan's gone to shit, so you have to react. I know that is a common occurrence, but it can get annoying when just random things like this happen. It makes it interesting for sure, it makes it memorable, but when I started a mission, which involves making sure one of my companions finishes a race first, and she can't die otherwise I have to start again, and she dies in literally the first 3 seconds due to, I have no idea, maybe a random rocket? It's that kind of stuff which is really frustrating. Other times, it's just kind of dull and very padded out. Like, on another, you're on a riverboat and you're going down the river, and there's this fog that'll kill you, so to get past it you have to set fire to all these torches as you come across them. Very dull, pretty to look at, but very dull. Oh, and another damn mission that really annoyed me is looking for these pink keys and putting them in a place on your screen so they slot up with what you see in the background. I'll put some footage up so you know what I'm talking about. The reason this annoyed me so much is because I needed to actually take an object out of my inventory and show it up, and the key prompt to do it wasn't coming on screen, and that's holding down Z. I had no idea about that until I started watching some YouTube videos to find out what I was doing wrong, and then I worked it out. But only then I had to put in a controller into my PC for me to press a different button to have that little icon come up. It's stuff like that that really percolates my potatoes. Now, some missions are a lot of fun, like the one where you have to get into a demolition derby and you have to survive, and vehicles flying everywhere, lots of gunshots, lots of explosions. Fun times, I like that one. There's another where this character is a gambler and he's basically given all his clothes and possessions to this gang, and you have to make sure he survives and is able to help you. So there's just me chasing this guy in his boxers. That could look a bit strange out of context. So the missions are a mixed bag. Some fun ones, some boring ones, and some very frustrating ones. The enemies, when it comes to trying to take you down, I was quite impressed by. It's little things such as when you're reloading, they'll say to each other, "He's reloading, go in!" The kind of stuff you expect in a real life type of gunfight situation. They're constantly screaming at you, they're constantly trying to threaten you and say all types of nasty things. One of my favourite lines in the game is, "I spy with my little eye a bunch of assholes." And they are smart enough to know that if you get too close they will hit you with their gun before stepping back to try and finish you off. The AI can still be gamed over. By that I mean obstacles will confuse it, as you see before you. I was able to finish this champion of the arena off by confusing him with a post. Other great pieces of detail they've included are things like your dog stopping by a river to have a drink. That's such a nice little feature. I'm glad developers take time to put detail into their world. It makes it that much more believable. What isn't believable is the fact that I'm there at all, because the whole point is all these townspeople are being victimized by this big scary crime group. Thing is, everyone I come across is packing heat. Everyone. If there were children in this game, they'd all be packing AK-47s. So why do they need me? Most of the time when there's some civilians walking by and the enemy's there, civilians take out their guns and start shooting back. I feel kind of unneeded really. Just do it themselves. You can barely interact with people as it is. In that I mean you can go up to them, you can press talk, and they will say something to you. Not with you, it's not a dialogue, it's just them talking to you. I think there's definitely a time and a place for the silent protagonist, and I think for Fallout New Dawn it could have worked if you had at least some text options. Maybe not a voice, but just saying yes I agree with something or no I don't would have made it a little more immersive. They're not trying to be a role-playing game, I get that, and I appreciate what they're doing with that, but just something a bit more would have added that little something. Oh yeah, weapon customization. It says there's a workbench where you can create your weapons, but you can't customize them. So if you're expecting to find little pieces of a gun, say a sight or a stock, and you're looking to combine them together, yeah, no, look elsewhere. Nothing at all like this. All the guns are preset, so all you have to do is meet the crafting criteria and you've got it. Other things to look out for are plants and herbs, which are useful for making potions, as you would expect to give you more life. There's also another reason for hunting down scary animals, in that you can sell their hides to get more crafting material. There isn't money, so to speak, in this game, it is just a storefront. And speaking of storefront, what the hell is up with all this Ubisoft Club shenanigans? I can spend real money to get in-game perks and ugh. Yeah, that stuff needs to go away. Other things you can do in this game include expeditions, where you and this Canadian guy will drop you off on this part of the world. I think they're different to Montana, so that's a bit of a change of scenery if nothing else, and you have to get to the package, liberate it, and have 30 seconds to get back somewhere before all hell breaks loose and make the extraction. Again, it's a fun thing to do, it gives you more resources, it makes things a little different with you having to get something and get out again, and gives you yet more of a challenge to go through. These can also be repeated again with harder and harder enemies. Basically, this game tries to want you to replay it as much as possible. So let's wrap this up. On the whole, I did have a fun time with Fallout New Dawn. A lot of the stuff I was doing was very repetitive, very grindy, very kind of just by the numbers, but it was a fun by the numbers experience with my different companions and their hilarious voice lines, all the pretty visuals, all the satisfying gunplay, taking a car and running someone over, and the music got to me as well from time to time. It's not perfect though by any stretch of the imagination. I played this one on PC, and oftentimes I would play and I'd load a mission and suddenly I can no longer strafe right or bring up my map. Yeah, certain keys got locked when I was reloading, so that was odd. And it could have done with more things such as better enemies, customizable guns, and a proper dialogue system. So Far Cry New Dawn for me gets 3.5 flamey bears out of 5. I was more invested in this than say Crackdown 3 from earlier, and I think if you do like these games, you'll have a lot of fun here. Don't expect Shakespeare, but expect you'll have a chuckle or two down the road. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Please join me for next time when we'll be discussing Horus Heresy Legions. Anyway, have a good one. Bye for now.